So, here's the thing. A couple of times a week, every week, I get asked by a reader of ringspo.com how much they should spend on their engagement ring. Many people have the idea that it should be 2 months' salary or 3 months' salary, but is that right? And how do you find the amount that's right for you? I'm Alistair Smith, founder of ringspo.com, where we give people the information they need to make smarter choices with their engagement ring. I actually deal with the 2-month salary myth in another video, which you can check out here. But the key thing to know is that it's a result of an 80-year-old ad campaign, and it's not something that we need to worry about anymore. So, how much should you spend? Well, I would love to be able to give you a magic formula which takes into account your salary, the number of years you've been dating, and how far out of your league your partner is to determine how much you should spend. But unfortunately, there isn't one. The amount that's right for you is much more complicated and personal than that. But I can give you the 3 things that you need to think about when deciding on your budget. These are the expectations of the person who's going to be receiving the ring, your personal attitude to spending money, and lastly, and probably most importantly, your financial situation and your other commitments. Ideally, you want to find that sweet spot that sits in the middle of all 3 of them. We're going to start off by talking about expectations, because your partner's going to have some and you want to meet them, or within reason, come as close as possible. Now, I imagine by now you know your partner pretty well, so you've probably got quite a good idea of her expectations and whether they're Kardashian-esque or, hopefully, a little bit more reasonable. It's not uncommon for women to have an idea of their perfect ring, the type of center stone, the carat weight, the shape of the stone, etc. Your partner is going to be wearing her ring every day. She's going to be showing it off to friends and family and quite possibly strangers on the bus. Getting engaged is a big deal, so she wants to make sure that it's something that she can be proud of. On a hunter-gatherer level, spending money on a ring also shows that you're investing personally and financially in a shared future together. Buying a ring is not necessarily about spending a lot of money though. It's also about making a thoughtful choice. And if you can show that you've put real consideration into finding a ring that you think they'll love, then they will love that effort and thoughtfulness even more. So that's the first thing. Understanding your partner's expectations and how you can meet them, or at least come as close as possible. Next up, we're going to look at your attitude to spending money and how this should affect the budget that you set yourself. Now, despite the accent, I've got 100% Scottish blood running through my veins, and if I was to describe myself charitably, I would say that I'm keen for a bargain. But at the same time, I'm not afraid to invest in quality for things that I'm going to be using for a long time. What's important for me is value rather than cost. And when that comes to engagement rings, that means spending money on things that are going to make a visible difference to how beautiful the diamond is, rather than things that you can't actually see. I don't advocate spending more money than is needed on things that just don't affect what the ring looks like. And you can check out my other videos or have a look at the educational info on ringspo.com about how to do just that. But different people have different attitudes to spending money. I have some friends who buy a new car every other year and think nothing of dropping $1,000 on a designer handbag. Equally, I have some friends who only shop in thrift stores, not because they necessarily want to cultivate a shabby hipster vibe, just because they'd rather spend their money on other things and don't want to spend it on clothes. What's important to think about is the value that you and your partner place on material things. For some people, a significantly sized diamond is a symbol of just how big their love is, while for others, a simple token of commitment is all they need. A good way to look at it is to fast forward a year and think about what you would feel comfortable having paid. If you think that you'll have pangs of regret or you'll be breaking out in a cold sweat at having spent so much, then maybe revise your budget down a little bit. It needs to be an amount that you're comfortable with, rather than just going with what you think is expected. Now, if you're completely lost by now and you're looking for some guidance on what to spend, then I can help with that. According to a recent survey by TheKnot.com of 14,000 recently engaged couples, the average spend on an engagement ring was $6,351. Another figure to consider is the median average salary in the US, which is $59,039 before tax. This works out at around 38 grand after tax. So, some very rough maths shows that the average person spends nearly 2 months of the average post-tax salary on their ring. Make sure to remember though that this is just a reference point. I'm not advocating that you spend this amount of money. The final thing, and for me the most important thing, is to think about what your financial situation is, what your other commitments are, and what you can comfortably spend. My key recommendation is to only spend the amount on your engagement ring that you can spend cash on, rather than credit. And this is for a few reasons. The first is that if you're spending your own money rather than the bank's, then you're more likely to be careful and you're going to be less susceptible to price creep, which is only too easy when you're looking at diamonds and engagement rings. The second is a feeling stressed about debt or repayments. Could really impact that golden early period of your engagement. You really want it to be a happy time without the weight of credit card repayments weighing down on your mind. Lastly, if you're getting engaged, then the next stage on your life journey is going to be planning your wedding. And let me tell you, those things are expensive. There's the dress, the venue, the cars, the photographer, the suit, the food for the guests, and a million other things. The average price of a wedding in the US is $25,764. So again, my key piece of advice is to pay cash for your ring and not go into debt. As I explained at the start, unlike my other videos, I can't give you one definitive rule or recommendation which is going to help you find the budget that's right for you. Ultimately, it's all about finding that one sweet spot between the expectations, your attitude to spending money, and your financial circumstances to find that budget that's right for you. Once you've decided on what your budget is though, you want to make sure that you're spending on the right things. If you'd like some help to make sure that you get the most beautiful ring possible, then we're here for you. Just visit ringspo.com/help and we'll get straight back to you. I'm looking forward to helping you maximize your budget and get the perfect ring for your partner.